Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and today we're going to be doing another episode of Wizard of Metal, where we look at an album instead of just a single song. And don't worry, I've got another one coming up for just a single song pretty soon, but this one is fresh in my mind because the band in question is one that I just saw live the other day, and I figured, what the hell, let's talk about that a little bit. So, the album in question, I'm sure you read the title so you know what's going on, is Cradle of Filth's third studio release entitled Cruelty and the Beast. And one of the important things to know about that album is that it is a concept album about the legendary Hungarian Countess Elizabeth Bathory. So, we're going to go ahead and at least get ourselves moving here. But to give you an idea of what the build is like, so we've got... It all kind of boils around the toxic bolus, actually, because, and this is important because Elizabeth Bathory was known for torturing and killing many young women and girls. As far as why, who really knows? Lord knows I don't. Now, before I go too much further, let's go ahead and roll the die for the soundtrack. Alright, that number doesn't mean anything. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and put on the original soundtrack real quick. That is what I rolled. But there is some debate as to whether or not the story of Elizabeth Bathory was actually the original impetus for the story of Count Dracula. So I decided to start with something vampire related. 2, it's going to be a critical hit build, so we're going with Dark Katana. And 3, because much of what Ms. Bathory did was related to torture, I decided that the toxic bolus would be a good way to symbolize that, as it not only grips and holds enemies still, but also poisons them. And then the idea that both Cardus Prime and Severing Slash are kinda light damage for each individual hit is also a part of that, because I wanted it to seem like I was torturing the enemies to death. So, there you go. That's kind of what I had come up with. Now because we're working with Cardus Prime and each Cardus Prime blade can only take so many hits, I do not want to start with the retro floor plan. Matter of fact, I might not want to take any of these cursed relics at all. Yeah, I think it might just be a good idea just to get rolling. And I think just because of how integral the toxic bolus are going to be to the plan, it might be a good idea to start with Atlas and just get that out of the way, so I don't have to worry about a bunch of his mooks just not being able to be poisoned or affected by that really at all. But it seems like the game has other ideas. Oh, there we go. So, because the story of Elizabeth Bathory is one that's so integral to understanding Cruelty and the Beast, that seems like it would be a good place to start. So, for starters, Bathory herself, and some interesting things here, probably not going to take the Erupting Fissure, or Engulfing Fissure, mostly because the next 2 levels that will be resisted. Might grab Gale Force alignment, though. Well, I mean, you know we have to do this. So let's go ahead and pull up a little bit of information. I'm not going to do a super full breakdown of everything related to Elizabeth Bathory, but, and actually, according to this, it's actually pronounced Bathory. But we'll just keep up with the same pronunciation I've been going on. Elizabeth Bathory. Bathory and her 4 servants were accused of torturing and killing hundreds of girls and women between 1590 and 1610. Her servants were put on trial and convicted, whereas Bathory herself was confined to her home. She was imprisoned within the castle of word I can't pronounce. And she was imprisoned there in December of 1610, so... I mean, honestly, she got to get away with it for a while. Well, that was a horrible, horrible mistake. Alright, well that's an interesting way to start a run, by just getting immediately beat down. Alright. Alright, I'm gonna make this work, I swear. Alright, sorry, I kinda got lost in the sauce there a little bit. And unfortunately, not going to be able to make use of Dr. Song's services, because otherwise I give up Hardest Prime, and I don't want to give that up. So, continuing on with the story of Elizabeth Bathory, so we can better understand what Cruelty and the Beast is all about. So, like I said, there's a lot of information about her married life, her early years, and apparently she got pregnant at age 13, and the child was essentially given up to a family friend, so, there's something. And she's got a very sinister reputation. Like, the tales of Elizabeth Bathory are part of Hungarian folklore even to this day, so... So, in case you were wondering, yes, her name is still known even today. Now, one of the interesting things that came from that whole thing is, as I had alluded to earlier, the idea that she was supposedly the impetus behind Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, there is no actual proof of that, so this seems like a good time to put up the whole citation needed thing. So that's just a rumor, but it hasn't stopped people from depicting her as a vampire or a sorceress of some sort. We're gonna go ahead and grab that. Like, to the point of even saying that to the point of even saying that the whole purpose behind why she killed and tortured so many young women was to bathe in the blood of virgins so that she could retain her youth. Which is a popular story that persists even to this day. What the hell? Now, that of course is just a rumor, and of course, we all know that there's no way that could really be true. So, the more plausible explanation behind what she did, to explain what she did, is that she just got some sort of strange, perverse pleasure out of it. I mean, why does any serial killer do the crazy shit that they do? I do believe that she still holds the record for the female serial killer with the highest body count. So, you know, in case for some reason you wanted to like have that strange piece of information. Well, what about you, Darkseid? Did you want that information? I mean, does anyone really want to know things like that? But I do find it to be an interesting piece of history, and that is kind of what I got out of it. And ultimately, it's just good. It's good to have some understanding where the idea for Cradle's album came from. And I'm sure you saw the picture in the thumbnail, but that is the album cover, which is depicting more than likely a fictionalized account of Elizabeth Bathory just bathing in a bathtub full of blood. I mean, let's face it, if she were actually a vampire, I think that image in and of itself is enough to give people that thought. And to be fair, it is rather striking imagery, and we would see things like that come up again and again. Like, I believe that almost that exact imagery was used in. See, I forget which Castlevania game it was used in, but it was definitely used in Castlevania. And for a more recent example, in Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night, Bloodless is actually a character based entirely around Elizabeth Bathory. And it's the idea that you encounter her bathing in blood, and the idea that everything that she does has to do with blood in some way when it's not. Like, if you needed me to spell that out for you, you might have some sensory deprivation problems that I can't help you with. Just saying. Now, judging from the idea that I decided to use the kind of more fictional account as the impetus, I'm hoping to find something to complete this little fun build with. Namely, I would like to finish the Sanguine attire. Now, this is gonna sound strange, but I don't think I want that. Now, let me explain. I am normally all for grabbing the Chrono Glove for the charge basics. The reason why I'm thinking I don't want to do that this time is because this time the charge jolts you really far forward, and I don't want that. I actually kind of want to, one, control when I do that. Two, I kind of want to be still most of the time. I don't think I need anything else here. I will grab that just as a nice little bookend there. Alright. And actually, this run is kind of fun. So with all that having been said, and now that we know a little bit more about Elizabeth Bathory, and like I said, if you want more information, you can definitely go and look that up yourself. I will leave a link to the article that I was reading from about her, so you can do a little bit of research yourself if you're interested. There we go. Good fight, good fight. I'll grab it just because. It's a nice combat option, but I might find something different later. So, as stated earlier, Cruelty and the Beast is Cradle of Filth's third album. And as it is a concept album as it is a concept album based around the idea of Elizabeth Bathory, they decided that in order to really sell that idea, they were going to get a little bit of help in the way of getting the actress that actually played Elizabeth Bathory in the 1971 Hammer horror film. I believe her name was Ingrid Pitt. I'm going to look that up just to make sure I have it right. Yep, Ingrid Pitt. She was the one who actually played Bathory in the 1971... It was actually in the 1971 film Countess Dracula, so I'm sorry for that. But she actually appeared on the album to do lines within the songs that that are actually Elizabeth Bathory themselves. So, you know, like true crazy artists, they just decided to take a concept and run with it. Alright, oh, I see him. I see Singing Bowl. That could certainly help. And those could go together. Would actually kind of go real nice with this whole torture theme. But before I submit to anything, let's keep looking. And actually, the Air Seekers are kind of an interesting one, as they are at the moment kind of representing Elizabeth Bathory's servant who aided her in her sickening little deeds. Now, one of the things that came up about Cruelty and the Beast while I was looking up information about it is that even though it was an album that was well received, it was definitely well noted when the album came out that its production quality was not so great. Not sure if there's anything here I want aside from the Severing Slash upgrade. To be fair, there are things there that I like, but some of them would be less than ideal. Well, I never said her servants were smart. I never said I was smart. Holy crap. Alright, and I haven't found the red portal yet. And I think I see where it's going to be. Oh, perfect. Yes, make me better at spilling the blood of my enemies. Alright, so I probably should get Singing Bowl. I'm not going to, but I should. Well, that was a weird sound glitch. I mean, it's a freebie. It's not a good one, but it's a freebie. So, on the point of the production of the album having not been great. See, the production and mixing for Cruelty and the Beast has attracted some criticism, particularly for the sound quality of the drumming. Sarah Jezebel Diva revealed on the band's official message boards, "The production is absolute rubbish. I remember when I first heard it. Danny played it. I walked out with tears in my eyes. I had spent 25 hours working in the studio on that album, and it sounded like I had my head in a toilet. Most of my vocals you couldn't hear. After walking out of the room after Danny played it to her, she claimed to have bumped into drummer Nicholas Barker, who also expressed his dissatisfaction. That was in an interview with Scars and Guitars in 2020, and Barker stated that he cried when he heard the mix and demanded that the album release be postponed. And it sounded like him and the two main songwriters wanted that to happen as well, but their desires were essentially overridden by the record label. Just goes to show that just because they trust you enough to make music under their label doesn't mean they trust you enough to, get in the way of their short-term profits. The bastards. Alright, what do you have for sale, sir? I might want the cinnamon dots. It's really about all I'm seeing there that's interesting. Now, what I find funny about that is that even with the mixing on the album being pretty rubbish, as Miss Diva herself would say, the album still went on to be a lot of Cradle of Filth fans' favorite album. And I'll just go ahead and state it right now, myself included. This is an album I come back to frequently. And even after listening through their entire discography and really liking Hammer of the Witches and really liking their new one, Existence is Futile, and really kind of being more or less okay with Manticore. Like, I still find myself coming back to Cruelty and the Beast frequently. Recording problems and all. Which says to me that the band was really on point with their artistry for that album. It's just, sometimes you just have to understand that, what makes something someone's favorite isn't necessarily the things that you think it is. Now, that having been said, they did eventually get their wish, and Cruelty and the Beast was released in a remastered state. That came out, November 2019? And I will say, after listening to it, nowadays when I go back to listen to Cruelty and the Beast, that's typically the version that I'm listening to, is what they call the remastered version. Alright, so we can finally upgrade that. Nothing else here I really want. And I mean, we did find the red portal, but I didn't get close enough to it, I guess. But we do have a couple of artifacts that I kind of don't need. Yes, I know they're called relics, but I've also been working on putting together a new Magic the Gathering deck, so the word artifact is just in my head right now. I mean, you knew I wasn't going to hold on to that, right? Owie. Alright, there we go. No thanks. Now, on the point, now moving on to the songs on the album, a lot of these songs are songs that I really come back to frequently. Like, I especially have a thing for, like, the first three, well, I should say the first 4 tracks, but the first track is kind of like an instrumental, like, introduction. Not an interlude, because it doesn't come in the middle of the album. But yeah, those songs are ones that I come back to frequently and that I always look forward to hearing, because musically they are getting a lot done. Now, to be fair, I know not everyone gets into even just metal, let alone extreme metal, but like I said, I have a soft spot for it. And let's be honest, with a name like Dark Sage, did you guys really expect that I wouldn't listen to something like that? Now, Cruelty and the Beast was not the album that actually got me introduced to Cradle of Filth in the first place, by the way. Sanguine Attire. Yeah. That album would actually be Midian, and there's a pretty good chance that I'm going to want to do an album retrospective on that as well. But like I said, Cruelty ended up being my favorite. And like I said, maybe what it has to do is the idea that they use their songs to tell a story. Which, to be fair, yeah, that's not exactly something that doesn't happen with songs, but I mean, it's much more noticeable here than it is with something like, I don't know. I have examples, but I'm not sure if they're appropriate to talk about. All I'm gonna say is the women that made that song laugh. Y'all ought to be ashamed of your goddamn selves. And this is coming from someone who is very admittedly not very prudish about anything. And I'm embarrassed for the female gender for that song. And for what it's worth, I know that there are plenty of women out there that like it. I just can't stand it. Like, I just don't understand what anyone gets out of a song like that. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, it's WAP. Go, just go look it up real quick. I mean, if you like rap music and you're not really concerned about the content of the content or the actual artistic merit of the song, then yeah, you might get something out of it. But if you're like me and you're looking for something that has some like intellectual and artistic merit, or just really smashing music, you're probably not going to get it out of that song. And yes, I am anticipating that there's going to be a number of people who disagree with me, maybe even in the comments section on that one. I don't care. And I'm aware that I listen to some occasionally cringy music myself. Even though I love this band, and by the way, yes, I can apply that to Cradle of Filth as well. But I was actually going to use as the example from that lead-in is Drain. I absolutely love that band, while being aware that some people would probably find the lyrical content of their songs a little cringy. I don't care. Yay! That was smart. And on the point of the songs from that album, even with the kind of iffy recording quality and whatnot, one of the songs on that album is actually something that Danny Filth himself says is one of his personal favorite achievements, and that is the song Bathory Aria. And to be fair, it is quite the song. It's not the last song on the album, but it's one of the last songs on the album. And yeah, it is a multi-parts, like 10-minute long, just metal opera, and yeah, it definitely punctuates the album well. Like, the only thing that does a better job of punctuating the album than that is the actual last song, which, yeah, I know you're probably going to throw a hiss fit over me saying this, but the name of the final track on the album is Lustborn and Orgasm. So, there you go. Sound an awful lot like Elizabeth Bathory and her Sickening Desires? Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't see anything here I want. Now let's go find that red portal. Oh, that's right. God, Nox barely showed up this time around. He supplied me with my sanguine attire and then fucked off. Okay, could you go away now? Kind of wish I had gotten a little bit more in the way of damage ups, but oh well. Owie. Hello. See, now that works well with the spice rack, but I think I like these guys a little bit better for what's coming up, so I'll just stick with that. Oh, thanks, guys. That's perfect. Alright, that could have gone better. Alright, and this is going to be like the tiniest damage up ever, but oh well. Yeah, 4%, yay. I mean, at least it is a damage up. Oh no! How dare you! Alright, there we go. Wow, I am just doing poorly. I suck. Okay, this was not my proudest victory, but you know what? It still got the job done. Suppose that's what I get for having not played the game in a few days. You know, courtesy of preparing for a concert and working lots and lots of long days. But there you go. That is basically Cruelty in the Beast in a nutshell. And I would definitely recommend, if you're interested at all in extreme or black metal, check it out. It's very good, very much worth a listen. So again, thank you guys very much for watching. Next time we jump into Wizard of Metal, it will be with a single song again. And it's probably going to be a song that most of you will look at and go, why would you talk about that song? And the reason is because I've got a little bit of history with that song and that band, and I've got to get it off my chest because it's awful and it deserves to get punished. So I will go over it, and it's gonna hurt because I know that's gonna stay in my Google search history, but I've got to do it just for closure on that part of my life and to have something to laugh at. That having been said, again, thank you guys very much for supporting. Links to the articles that I used will be in the description below. I thank you for watching, and I hope you find yourselves well. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and I will be seeing you